A shocking scene at an East End sports stadium last night. A small plane crash landing near the field while a soccer game was underway. Good afternoon. Remarkably, no one was injured after the aircraft with 3 people inside crash landed at Monarch Park Stadium on its way to Billy Bishop last night.
Today, Transport Canada officials are on scene investigating and believe an engine failure led to the accident. CTV's Beth Macdonell joins us now live from the scene with the very latest on the investigation. Beth.
Michelle and Nathan, a very big sigh of relief here in Monarch Park, which is in the Coxwell and Danforth area. None of the people on board the plane were hurt in this crash, and no one on the ground was hurt either. You can't see the plane right now. It's behind a building, which is behind me. But this crash site, it's next to a high school, it's next to a soccer field, and it's next to a busy park. It's a miracle in Monarch Park. Around 8 Monday night, a small plane with 3 people on board crashed next to a group playing soccer in a high school field. No one was hurt.
And we saw a plane really low, I'm going to say maybe 250 to 300 feet in the air. Very quiet, and it was just kind of going from the west side of the field to the east side of the field. And then it was out of sight, and then we heard a crash.
The engine stopped. It was silent coming through. Like it came through the trees. It's almost like a movie prop coming through. It was really surreal.
The Transportation Safety Board is investigating the crash in Toronto's East End. It says the plane, a Piper PA 28140, was flying from Orillia to Billy Bishop Airport on Toronto Islands.
Upon arrival, our crews found a small plane that had crashed just shy of the soccer field. I am happy to report there are no injuries to the occupants of the airplane and no injuries to the civilians that were playing soccer on the field.
The TSB says on its journey there was engine failure causing the crash landing. Investigators have since been speaking with witnesses and the people involved as part of its efforts to understand why the plane went down.
When the engine fails, basically you're in a gliding mode. So the pilot is going to trim the aircraft to about 60 miles an hour, so about 70 miles an hour or 61 knots, which is the optimum glide speed. They're going to be about 1,000 feet above the highest obstacle. So the pilot is going to be looking for a place to land.
People living nearby who heard the crash or learned of it rushed over to the scene.
I just think how lucky we all are that all ends well. All is well that ends well. Lucky nobody got injured. I just hope that whatever authorities need to investigate, we get to the bottom of why it happened.
Freaky, for no other word, to hear that a plane crash went down, again, in a very populated neighborhood.
Thankful everyone walked away. Last night, Toronto Fire said paramedics did smell some fuel and gas, and a small leak was contained. Reporting live, I'm Beth Macdonell. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. We're following breaking news out of Durham region where a homicide investigation is underway. This is a live look from our CTV News chopper of the scene in Newcastle near Farrow Avenue and Highway 2. Durham police say a female victim was pronounced dead after being found with what they describe as obvious signs of trauma. Few other details are known at this point, but police believe this is an isolated incident. There has been no word on any suspects.
And police are searching for suspects after a man was fatally shot in Scarborough last night. Police responded to reports of a shooting in the Kingston and Galloway area just before 10:30. A male victim was found with a gunshot wound and died at the scene. Police say the suspects fled the area before they arrived. There's been no word on any suspect descriptions, and the investigation is ongoing.
And officers were investigating after shots were fired in North York overnight. This happened in the area of Jane and Driftwood just before 1 a.m. Numerous shell casings were found, but there are no reports of any injuries. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Toronto's police chief, meantime, met with residents of a North York community last night, concerned about gun violence, particularly among young people.
The meeting happening not far from where 8-year-old Javay Roy was killed by a stray bullet that entered his home. CTV's John Musselman has the story.
More than 100 concerned residents packed this church hall on Lawrence Avenue West near Jane Street. They were here to voice their concerns about safety, gun violence, youth crime, and what some claim is a lack of police patrolling the streets.
There's a general sense, at least around here, of abandonment by the police.
I'd like to be more safe in. I was more safe in the past, but I don't feel safe now.
Never mind, oh, it's your fault your child's in trouble. It's your fault your child's in trouble. Stop blaming the parents.
But I think what we also have to see is the correlations between violent crime and poverty.
The community meeting was organized by local councillor Francis Nunziata. Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkew spoke to the crowd and answered questions. It comes in the wake of a deadly shooting of an 8-year-old boy last month. He was struck and killed by a stray bullet. A teenager has been charged with first-degree murder. And just 2 weeks ago, gunfire near a high school on Keele Street left an innocent woman injured when she was hit in the crossfire. Residents say there has been too much talk and not enough action or money put in the right places to solve these ongoing issues.
It's easy for us as the public to point the finger and post blame. We are failing. The organizations that are accepting this money and putting in the work are failing you.
I'm going to try not to get emotional because I don't know any parent that wants their child in prison or dead.
And this University of Toronto student who moved to Toronto from the city of Chicago 7 years ago offered a warning about youth gun violence if it's left unchecked.
Please, please, please work with these young people in these streets before it get to a point where you're not going to be able to stop it.
Our experience here in Toronto is that over 85% of firearms that we can trace, and this is an important point, that we can actually trace, are from the United States.
Concerned residents say there is a direct connection between poverty and crime, and what neighborhoods need are better after-school programs for young people and job opportunities to help stem the flow of youth violence before it starts. John Musselman, CTV News.
In Oshawa, 3 suspects have been arrested after a violent carjacking. The police pursuit caught on camera.
There's a black fence here with hay in the middle. Just easy over that fence.
Yeah, sorry, that's subject is being taken into custody here.
Officers were able to track down the suspects in a field with assistance from the police helicopter high above. Police say a victim was assaulted in a parking lot near Nonquan Road and Mary Street around 10:30 on Saturday night, and 3 suspects took off in his vehicle. When police tried to stop the car, it crashed into a field and the suspects got out and ran. Officers say a large knife and an airsoft gun was found on one of the suspects. A 30-year-old of no fixed address and a 19- and 20-year-old from Scarborough are all facing charges.
The verdict in the sex assault trial of Toronto City Councillor Michael Thompson is set to be delivered today in a Midland courtroom.
The longtime politician is accused of sexually assaulting 2 women at a cottage over the Canada Day long weekend back in 2022. CTV's Natalie Johnson has been monitoring the trial, and she joins us live now with the latest. Natalie.
Michelle, nearly a year after his trial began, the Toronto City Councillor accused of sexually assaulting 2 women will find out his fate today. 65-year-old Michael Thompson, who represents Scarborough Centre and has been a sitting councillor for more than 20 years, is accused of sexually assaulting 2 women on Canada Day weekend of 2022. The longtime politician has denied the charges, telling the court that he never did anything inappropriate. The prosecution, though, has alleged that Thompson invited several women to a luxury cottage as a networking event, but then urged them to drink heavy amounts of alcohol and take off their clothes. He is accused of inappropriately touching one woman while applying sunscreen to her and accused of pressuring another woman to perform a sex act after she fell asleep drunk. The defense, meanwhile, is alleging that 3 witnesses on the stand lied about the events of the weekend, calling the trial a witch hunt. Now, this trial began last fall, so the verdict that will be issued later today really is months in the making. The judge is expected to deliver that verdict at a Midland court this afternoon. We will bring you the latest tonight at 5 and 6 o'clock. Reporting live for now, I'm Natalie Johnson. Back to you, Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Natalie. And still to come this noon hour, new concerns over bike lanes on Bloor. Are they impacting emergency response times in the city? The latest chapter in the controversial corridor coming up.
And we have more news in a moment, but first there's a live look at the city this afternoon. Clear skies, the water looks lovely as well. Lots of sunshine on this last week of summer as it continues to roll along. Another great day to get outside if you can, as this run of September sun seems to have no end. Lindsay Morrison is here with how things are right now. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. And it's not just the sun. It's the fact that we are feeling like midsummer, and temperatures are going to get a little bit warmer as this week progresses. But right now, satellite and radar, nothing to show you. Beautiful blue sky around the GTA. Temperature-wise, we are already at our forecast daytime high of 24 degrees, and it feels like 26 once you take the humidity into account. It's feeling closer to 30 already at this hour in Niagara. And I say already because we still have several hours of daytime heating to go. Winds still are coming out of the east. They're light in nature. There's today at a glance. Sunny skies, light winds for us as well. And again, as the week goes on, we're going to see this ridge of high pressure continue to bring us summer-like conditions. Bit of a change by the end of the week and early part of the weekend. Temperature-wise, we'll show you how cool it could get for a daytime high coming up. For now, Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. In Ottawa, Chrystia Freeland is expected to leave her role in the federal cabinet for an appointment to Ukraine. Sources say the Transport and Internal Trade Minister will be a special international envoy for Ukraine. Freeland will remain as a legislator for the time being. She is of Ukrainian descent and has helped drive Canada's staunch opposition to Russia's actions. Freeland has had a variety of ministerial roles after the Liberals took power in 2015.
Meanwhile, Freeland and her cabinet colleagues gathered for a meeting on Parliament Hill this morning. The Prime Minister arrived to chair the meeting, one of a series Mark Carney will participate in today. The PM and some cabinet ministers are sitting down this afternoon with Scott Moe. The Saskatchewan Premier was in China earlier this month to meet with officials who oversee tariffs on Canadian canola. Carney will also meet with canola industry leaders later in the day. Yesterday, the Prime Minister and other MPs returned for the new session of the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, why is it that all of this Prime Minister's promises of yesterday turn into today's disappointments?
He missed the largest tax cut for 22 million Canadians. He missed the cut on the GST for new homes.
Carney and opposition leader Pierre Poilievre squared off for the first time in the House. The minority Liberals will need help moving its agenda forward. Opposition leaders say they're open to working with the government, but no one is making any commitments right now.
The Assembly of First Nations outlined today what they want to see from the new session of Parliament.
With the new session of Parliament, we are releasing an open letter today to all parliamentarians this week to provide an overview of the legislative priorities of the Assembly of First Nations that we've been discussing with chiefs since the end of June. We are also taking the opportunity to remind all parliamentarians of Canada's legal obligations to First Nations when making decisions that impact our inherent rights, our title, and our treaties.
The AFN is calling for Ottawa to focus on investments that will benefit all Canadians, strategic capital investments to close a $360 billion First Nations infrastructure gap, and a focus on essential community health services and infrastructure. That includes an urgent $700 million investment to address the opioid drug crisis that First Nations are dealing with.
Back in the city, a community group is raising concerns about the contentious bike lanes on Bloor Street.
Despite the court's ruling, the bike lanes can stay. The group is calling on the city to reevaluate, citing impacts to emergency response times in the area. CTV's Sean Leathong was at a news conference held by this advocacy group this morning, and he joins us now. And Sean, what did the group have to say?
Well, Michelle, the group is called Balance on Bloor, and they point to the division between the bike lane, which is on this side, and the single lane of traffic along Bloor Street West near Royal York, where cars go back and forth, saying it's far more traveled by vehicles. And because it only has one lane, it actually clogs up the area, and it becomes a problem for emergency vehicles. So to give you a backgrounder, these bike lanes were installed in 2023, and over the past 2 years, this group says they've been trying to get proper information that would focus on what emergency emergency vehicles have been able to do and what the response times have been in that time. So they launched a Freedom of Information request, and they got some response times for the area, and they did their own calculations, which they say show that emergency vehicles have had increased response times. In one area not too far from here at Old Mill, they say the response time for a fire truck has gone up 143 seconds since the bike lanes were installed. And what they've been calling on is the local councillor and City Hall to acknowledge them and acknowledge this information, but say they are being stonewalled. A little while ago, we spoke to Cody McRae from Balance on Bloor. Here's what he had to say.
All along the corridor, response times have gone up. That's what it shows. It shows numerous instances along this corridor where response times have been increased. The problem is that at the time, the deputy fire chief, he's now our fire chief, Jim Jessup, has misled the public and stated that response times at ward level have improved. Well, great, we're not talking about ward level. This area where we're standing has zero impact to Brown's Line or zero impact down on Lakeshore, when it's residents here that are being negatively impacted by the changes that have happened.
Now, this area, they say, is far less traveled by cycling traffic. We've seen a number go through in the bike lane this morning, but obviously far more cars have gone through as they file along single file. Now, I will point to just this past summer in July, we also did a story from a bike advocacy group that farther east into the city, also along Bloor, pointed to the fact that they counted more cyclists in their part of the city than vehicles during rush hour. So where the context comes from really does depend on where you're standing. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. The Toronto Public Library says it is expanding its mental health services to address a growing need in the city. The idea came about 2 years ago when library staff said they felt ill-equipped to deal with the city's most vulnerable. The library teamed up with the Gerstein Crisis Center to launch a pilot project in a handful of branches, offering free classes and programs to people with mental health concerns. The project has provided services to more than 4,000 people so far this year, and it has now expanded to 12 branches across the city.
Canada's inflation rate rose slightly last month, with a smaller than expected drop in gas prices fueling the increase. Stats Canada reports the Consumer Price Index increased 1.9% in August, a slight increase from the 1.7% bump in July. All eyes now turn to the Bank of Canada, which will release its interest rate decision tomorrow.
A new report paints a concerning picture on the impact of the rising cost of living on Canadians. And joining us to break down the 2025 National Poverty Report Card is CTV's Renee Rogers. Renee, Food Banks Canada releasing that report this morning. So how did our country score?
Well, Michelle, I guess it depends on how you look at it. On one hand, our score is up slightly from last year. We got a D- when it comes to the federal government's efforts to address poverty. But this year we got a D, still a pretty dire grade. Now, this comes from the Food Banks Canada's National Poverty Report Card for 2025. And as you can see on your screen, it's an average. The overall D is an average of a few different criteria. The first being unemployment, where we got an F, a failing grade. The report says joblessness is up by 34% since 2023, with youth feeling it the most. Then on food security, another failure, with more than a quarter of households struggling to afford food in 2025. That's up from just over 18% in 2023. Now, we do slightly better on the third piece of criteria, and that criteria is legislation from the federal government to address these kinds of issues. We got a C there, and the report does point to some early signs of progress. That's why we're getting the C, including poverty reduction strategies, affordable housing pilots, and as well as the Canadian Dental Care Program and the National School Food Program. But of course, it says more momentum is going to be needed on these files in order to for them to be successful. Michelle.
Well, Renee, those are certainly not grades you want to bring home to your parents,
Right.
but there is a glimmer of hope in reducing food insecurity in particular. What solutions are being proposed here?
So it is proposing 3 different solutions, Food Banks Canada. The first one is, it seems a lofty goal, and that is to reduce food insecurity in Canada by 50% by 2030. So that is just in 5 years' time. The other strategy that it recommends is enshrining automatic tax filing into law, making it the law that your taxes are automatically filed. It says that that would unlock billions in unclaimed benefits for low-income Canadians. Thirdly, it wants the government to review and modernize supports for low-income workers. It specifically points to employment insurance, also the Canada Disability Benefit. But there's something to keep in mind here, and that is that the federal government is shifting its priorities towards restraint and defense spending. So it now remains to be seen how much the government is going to put towards poverty reduction strategies in its upcoming budget, which had been largely expected for next month. Now we're hearing reports, though, Michelle, according to CTV political chief correspondent Vashi Capellos, that that budget could be delayed further until November. So it could be still a little while yet before we see exactly what the government's plan is moving forward.
CTV's Renee Roger in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Meanwhile, the Daily Bread Food Bank is launching its Thanksgiving food drive this week. The food bank has a goal of raising $4.4 million and 225,000 pounds of food. This year, food banks in Toronto are expected to see more than 4 million visits, almost 5 times pre-pandemic levels. Daily Bread now serves more than spends more than $20 million a year on food. In the Middle East, the Israeli military says it began expanded ground operations in Gaza City overnight. Israel carried out a large wave of airstrikes. In the coming days, 2 divisions of the military are expected to advance into new areas of the city that are currently not under Israeli control. Israel estimates there are as many as 3,000 Hamas militants still in the city. Gaza health officials say at least 40 people were killed in the early hours of the assault.
A United Nations inquiry has found Israel has committed genocide. It says top Israeli leaders, such as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, had incited these acts.
The one is the Prime Minister, the other the President, and the third is the former Minister of Defense. And we said that since they acted as agents of the state, then the state of Israel is responsible.
The report finds Israel has committed 4 of the 5 categories of actions that constitute genocide, as laid out in the 1948 UN Genocide Convention. The Israeli ambassador to the UN rejects the accusations.
Israel categorically rejects the libelous rant published today by this Commission of Inquiry. It spreads the malicious genocide narrative. The report diverges from the mandate of the Commission, yet again stressing their biased analysis.
A New York judge has dismissed terrorism charges against Luigi Mangione in the state's case over the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The judge did keep the state's second-degree murder charges against Mangione. His lawyers argued the New York case and a parallel federal death penalty case amounted to double jeopardy, but the judge rejected that argument. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to multiple counts of murder.
So we know that the weather has been pretty nice the last couple of days, and guess what? The next few look good as well. If you're maybe hoping to hit the links, this is a good week to do just that. Your golfers forecast looks like this. It's going to feel hot into the day on Thursday. Do want to point that out. Core temperature 27 degrees, feeling like 30. And where's the rain, you may be wondering? We've had close to 20 millimeters so far in September, but that all fell in one morning on September the 4th. So we are below average. There's the possibility of a few showers in the 7-day forecast. We'll show you when on the other side of this break. You're watching CTV News at noon, and we'll be right back.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Look at that skyline behind us. We have another day of sunshine. I don't know. I don't think we're going to get tired of this.
No, I can get used to it. The weather is just great during the day, and then it cools down enough at night. It's like perfect.
I know. I told you Septembers are pretty nice around here, but you both know that, of course.
Our birthdays are in September. We love September.
Yes. And I think we're going to be loving the rest of September, too, if we've liked what we've had so far. Much of the same today as we had yesterday. Tomorrow's going to be similar. A little bit of heat builds in before we make it to the weekend. And then if you're ready for a cool down, at least a temporary one, we just have to wait until the weekend for that. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Another beautiful sunrise this morning, and the sun is now rising right around 7 a.m., maybe a minute before, and it's gorgeous once that sun does come up, given the conditions that make it so. High pressure dominant once again, and that means mainly blue skies, a lack of cloud cover, and certainly a lack of active weather. If you are waiting for some rain, maybe your lawn is, your garden, well, we might have to wait a little while before we get a good soaking, but we do have the possibility of a few showers as we make our way toward the end of this week and then the beginning of next week. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. First, though, temperature-wise, we are still 24 degrees at this hour. It feels like 26. Once again, it's quite hot in parts of northern Ontario today. Our forecast high, we're already there, 24 degrees. Expecting it to be about 25 today in places like Bancroft and Peterborough, Kingston, 26 degrees in Niagara Falls, and at the height of the day, it's going to feel into the 30s. So some heat to go along with that sunshine. Right now, Fort Severn is the hot spot in the province at 26.9 degrees. The seasonal norm is now about 20, so we are trending well above that, not just today, but for the next couple of days. As mentioned, for example, tomorrow's forecast daytime high is 25 degrees, but it's going to feel like 29. So starting to become a little uncomfortable for some who prefer to leave their humidity in July and August. A snapshot around the province, 28 degrees tomorrow for you in the Woodstock area, 25 in Caledon as well as Innisfil, and the forecast daytime high will be about 23 degrees in Cobourg. It's going to feel more like 27. There's the satellite and radar. No active weather to worry about for today. You can carry on with your outdoor plans without worrying about Mother Nature raining on anything. We've got quite a bit of active weather stateside along the eastern seaboard, and we're going to be tracking a cold front that does cool us down before the weekend arrives. The question becomes, is that cold front going to come in dry, or will we get a quick passing shower? It looks like we're going to get a little bit of cloud from it as we make our way into the day on Thursday. That chance of showers is there into the afternoon, very scattered, very isolated in nature. But there is a chance, is what I'm saying. And then Friday, maybe a little bit of cloud to start, mix of sun and cloud overall, and much closer to seasonal temperature-wise that day. So we go from 27 degrees, feeling like 31 on Thursday, to a high of about 22 on Friday. Look at Saturday, 19 degrees for the high. So it's suddenly going to feel a little fresh, especially early Saturday morning with the overnight low around 9 degrees. But then we warm back up again as we head into the day on Sunday. Monday as well, 25 degrees. Another chance of showers on Monday, and it is worth mentioning that that is officially the first day of fall, or it's the day that we welcome the season officially. Not a bad looking forecast to finish off summer. Michelle, I'll send it back over to you.
I'd say that's an understatement. Thank you, Lindsay. Now to the annual political tradition that brings Queen's Park to rural Ontario.
The Premier and other provincial leaders are taking part in the International Ploughing Match, which is being held in Niagara region this year. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live from Grassy with the details. Hey, Siobhan.
Hey, this is always something that politicians at Queen's Park look forward to. It's a chance to leave the suits in the closet, break out the cowboy boots, the jeans, the plaid shirts, and really reconnect with voters in more rural parts of Ontario. Lots of things to see and hear here in Grassy, Ontario. The latest in tractor technology, lots of displays from farmers, from dairy farmers as well. This is a chance again to talk to voters. We are hearing some concerns about big projects like Highway 413, which is going to cut through grassland. We did talk to the Premier about a whole host of subjects, including the recent departure, the plan to depart from Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie. The Premier says that he wishes Bonnie Crombie well, saying it's really hard to put yourself up for leadership. It means a lot of sacrifice, time away from your family, and so he's wishing her well in her next chapter. We also heard from both the Premier and the Minister of Education about the ongoing look at possible changes to the education system, possibly doing away with trustees in some boards and collapsing them. Paul Calandra says he really wants to make sure that Ontarians are getting the best bang for their buck, that their education money is being well spent on resources in the classroom. Today was also the first time we heard from the Premier about Mark Carney's nation-building projects list. The most important one to Ontario, the Ontario government, the Ring of Fire, was left off that list. Here's what the Premier had to say.
It's all right. I talked to him. It's going to be on the next tranche, and we'll get up there. So it's good. I had a great meeting, by the way, with Chief Webbequay, I should say, and we shook hands. It's great, and we're moving forward with it, being led by Webbequay First Nations.
Premier Doug Ford again says that Ring of Fire project will be part of the next tranche of projects. He says that will land around Grey Cup time in November. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Canada's annual pace of housing starts was down in August. It fell 16% compared with the month before to nearly 245,800 units. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation says housing starts for Canadian centres with a population of 10,000 or greater fell to just over 223,000 last month. Rural starts were estimated at 22,000.
Meanwhile, some small businesses across Canada appear to be facing challenges as customers spend less. A new report from Equifax Canada says more than 286,000 businesses missed at least one credit payment in the second quarter. That's up 5.6% from a year ago. Equifax says sectors tied to international trade and consumer discretionary spending are under stress, while other businesses are holding steady or even improving. Like so many essentials, the cost of diapers is up, putting a strain on families and in some cases becoming a barrier to other necessities.
CTV's Pauline Chan has more on an organization's effort to ensure families don't have to choose between food, rent, or diapers.
So we've built this really large physical wall of diapers as a representation of the fact that for many families, diapers are a barrier that's limiting their ability to get to work. So we are literally blocking people as they're trying to get to work.
All this week, volunteers with Baby Love are talking about the need for diapers with people on the path.
1 in 5 families in Toronto are actually experiencing diaper need. And what inspired our diaper barrier here today is a staggering complementary statistic, which is that for 60% of those families experiencing diaper need, they miss on average 4 days of work or school each month because they don't have the diapers required to drop off their children at childcare. We're so fortunate to work with Irving Personal Care, who provides us with their Royale diaper. It's the only branded diaper made here in Canada. It's hypoallergenic.
The diapers are distributed through community organizations that also provide supportive services such as food and housing.
We get our diapers for about 2.5 times less than retail, and that's really meaningful because diaper prices are actually up 20% in the past 2 years alone. So families are really feeling the crunch. The average newborn can go through 13 to 15 diapers in a day.
And studies show diapers are a young family's 4th largest expense after housing, food, and utilities. A $25 donation buys diapers and wipes for a month.
It's super eye-opening.
This woman was one of those who gave today.
I don't think a lot of people realize that having access to diapers is what gets you into daycare. And when you have daycare, you can go to work. You can go to school. You can have all these other connections.
The Baby Love display will be here at the concourse level of Commerce Court, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. through the end of Friday. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Still to come this noon hour, remembering legendary actor, filmmaker, and environmentalist Robert Redford, who has died at the age of 98. We look back at his life and legacy after the break. Air Canada says the union representing its flight attendants has requested mediation be canceled after members voted against a wage agreement earlier this month. In a statement, the airline says CUPE asked to dispense with the mediation process. Instead, the wage component will go directly to arbitration. Air Canada says it has agreed to the request and that flights will continue to operate as normal. The recent strike by flight attendants grounded more than 3,000 flights, stranding about 550,000 passengers. Well, one of the biggest names in Hollywood has passed away. Oscar-winning actor, director, and environmentalist Robert Redford has died at 89.
CTV's Andrea Case joins us now with more on his life and his legacy. Andrea.
Michelle and Nathan, good afternoon. Well, it can't be understated what an impact Robert Redford had on the film community. He was a man who used his force for good, stepping away from in front of the camera and changing the industry, giving a voice to filmmakers who may not have had a voice, and fighting for the rights of others before it was trendy to do so.
Star, and he was a movie star. Charles Robert Redford Jr. was born in Santa Monica, California in 1936.
Well, that ought to do it. Use enough dynamite there, Butch?
A career in acting began on television. He then moved on to Broadway and film. His good looks cemented his leading man status, but Redford was more than just a pretty face and turned down roles which would stereotype him.
Robert Redford was someone who I think wasn't always given credit for his enormous talent as an actor, simply because he was too good looking. He had the Brad Pitt syndrome that people, I think for a while, just refused to take him as seriously as he deserved to be taken as an actor. But then you look at those films and you place them back to back to back. You see how different they all are, and you see that the common link is Robert Redford.
He made his directorial debut with the family drama Ordinary People in 1980. It garnered him his first Academy Award. Redford stood for many causes, bringing his star power attention to causes including political activism, the environment, Native American and Indigenous peoples' rights, and LGBTQ rights. Robert Redford co-created the Sundance Film Festival in 1985, taking place where he lived in Utah in the middle of winter. In his words, make it weird.
Our job and our role is to create a space and a platform to bring new voices and new ways of seeing the world using independent film to this place. That's it. We're not interested in the money. That's somebody else's issue.
Redford was married twice and had 4 children and 7 grandchildren. He died in his sleep this morning at home in Utah, surrounded by those he loved. Robert Redford was 89.
As you can imagine, reaction is coming in after the news was passing. Around 8 o'clock this morning, we heard co-star Jane Fonda says she can't stop crying over Robert Redford's death. And Barbara Streisand says, of course, that this is someone that she loved. Coleman Domingo said, "Thank you, Mr. Redford, for your everlasting impact. It will be felt for generations." Marley Matlin posted, "A genius has passed." For CTV News, I'm Andrea Case. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Andrea. Canadian children's author Robert Munch has been approved for medical assistance in dying. A profile in the New York Times revealing Munch applied for MAID not long after being diagnosed with dementia. The 80-year-old went public with his diagnosis in 2021. Munch has written more than 70 popular children's books over the years, including The Paper Bag Princess and Love You Forever.
It's been more than 5 years since the World Health Organization declared a COVID-19 pandemic, but cases are starting to pick up again, both in Canada and the U.S.
And as CTV's Heather Wright reports, it comes at a time of increased vaccine hesitancy.
An end-of-summer trend. COVID cases tick up just as the leaves start to turn.
I just felt like I was coming down with something, but it felt a little extra.
Sarah Bartok had never tested positive for COVID until last week.
I had pain in my eyeballs, and the fever was quite extreme.
While it's still too early for influenza and RSV, COVID cases are up in many parts of the country. Nationally, the wastewater viral activity level for COVID is at moderate, but levels are high in Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Regina. While experts don't predict this year's virus to be very different from the past, they are encouraging people to stay home when sick and get vaccinated, especially older Canadians.
We know if we look at hospitalization and death, it really is overwhelmingly in that age cohort, especially in those over 80.
This year's respiratory virus season comes at a time of heightened vaccine hesitancy, fueled in part by decisions made south of the border. COVID shots are being limited in certain states and vaccine guidelines are changing, though a number of states have rejected the new controversial approach to vaccines.
I think it always is concerning when you see a group take a step in a vastly different direction. But I think if you look at Canada compared to much of the world, our policy and advice aligns pretty closely with most other places.
COVID vaccines will begin rolling out across the country later this fall, with Alberta the only province that will now charge most people to get the vaccine. It will still be free for those living in long-term care. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The red-hot Toronto Blue Jays are looking for their 6th straight win tonight after yet another come-from-behind win in Tampa last night.
Base hit into left field. And Ernie Clement is rounding third and on his way in to score the go-ahead run.
After the Jays tied up the game, George Springer drove in the go-ahead run in the 11th, and the Jays beat the Rays 2-1. Trey Savage had a solid MLB debut for the Jays in this one as well. He recorded 9 strikeouts, which sets a franchise record for the most in a major league debut. The Jays will look for another win tonight with Jose Barrios on the mound. Now, there is a lot of trash talk in any sport, but recent comments from a U.S. broadcaster about the baseball IQ of Blue Jays fans is considered by many to be off base.
CTV's John Vennavally-Rao digs into the left field comment and the response from fans.
After sweeping the Baltimore Orioles, the Blue Jays continue to be one of the best teams in baseball, almost certainly destined for the playoffs.
Very excited. I love their chances.
Hey guys, it's Brian Roberts here.
But on Friday, this former Orioles second baseman and now broadcast color commentator took a swing at Canadian fans after the crowd in Toronto booed a pickoff attempt by the Orioles pitcher, who was trying to keep the Blue Jays base runner from stealing second. Brian Roberts saying this on air.
Sometimes we had some major questions about the baseball IQ of some Canadians here and there.
He didn't think the fans should boo, since new rules limit pickoff attempts. But on social media, Canadians reacted, noting pickoff attempts being booed happens at every ballpark.
That's what made it really bizarre for Brian to say that, because that's something that all home fans do.
What also made it bizarre is that the Orioles have a losing record and much smaller crowds at home. Still, Roberts went on to say this about Canadians.
I think, at times it felt like maybe they enjoyed or they knew a little bit more about hockey than baseball.
The Blue Jays having fun with the comments, crediting high IQ fans for having a winning record at home. And Blue Jay Ernie Clement, who's American, told the Toronto Star, "The more I play here and the more I get to know the people of Toronto, the more I gain a respect for what they know about baseball."
We know a lot about hockey, but we know just as much about baseball. We're a very intelligent group here in Canada.
And during a broadcast on Sunday, Roberts changed course and said he was sorry.
I hope that they will accept my sincere apology for what I said on the air the other day.
As for Blue Jays fans, they're now focused on the last 2 weeks of the regular season and hoping to show America in the playoffs just how baseball mad Canadians can be. John Vennavally-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
A young mini motorcycle rider is gearing up to grow the sport.
The 14-year-old hopped onto a bike for the first time this spring and is already competing in international events. CTV's Spencer Turcott has the story.
14-year-old Stefan Tanasic hopped on a mini motorcycle for the first time in April. He's gone from 0 to 100 real quick.
I've always been a speed demon, so I've always liked going fast.
In just a few months, he's already competed in international competitions.
I was in China in July, I want to say. It was a phenomenal experience.
He credits everything he's learned to Tony Sharpless, who operates Supersonic Road Race School.
Feel those two tall ones. He ended up finishing 4th overall in the FIM Mini GP Canada National Championship this year. So he did remarkably well for a kid that we just taught how to ride in the spring.
Aside from winning, Sharpless and Tenasich have a shared goal of growing the sport.
Well, if you're comparing it to hockey, lacrosse, baseball, it's non-existent. The main obstacle is that Canada doesn't recognize motorcycle racing as a sport, and that's federally and provincially.
Tenasich is looking at getting his friends involved.
I'm thinking of handing out some flyers to give to them, and maybe they could come join the school and we can get some more kids in the sport.
Look no further than his 9-year-old sister Natalia for proof that anyone 5 years old and up can join.
I just want to have a need for speed.
As for her brother, it's pedal to the metal because he wants to take it all the way.
My main goal, like my life goal, is to make this a career and make it into MotoGP.
Considering his parents have taken him to all of Supersonic Road Race School's classes, which account for nearly 40 days this year, it seems like he's laying the groundwork to accomplish that. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Flamborough.
Looks like a sport to me.
That's something. My son is 5. He just learned to ride a bike, and I'm scared with him with pedal power. And they have a need for speed. Incredible. Weather-wise, give us the goods.
Good evening for whatever sport you're hoping to enjoy tonight. Maybe it's baseball. Maybe you're still on the soccer field. Here's a look at what you can expect late this afternoon and early this evening. Now, overnight tonight, the temperature is going to fall to about 13 degrees. That's not bad for this time of year. And then tomorrow, hot, humid, 25 degrees will feel like 29. Lots of sunshine in store as well. A reminder, we've been talking about it. Fall officially arrives on September 22nd, which this year is Monday. There's your 7-day forecast, and it's going to feel a whole lot like summer up until that point, and maybe on the first day of fall as well. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.